So last night I just beat Resident Evil 9 or Resident Evil Requiem, and I just wanted to come out of my hiding hole to talk about this real quick and just give a commentary before my next video because I am just so happy with this game, man. Heading into the release, I avoided every trailer other than the very first reveal and the Leon one at the Game Awards. I felt very mixed because while I was so excited to hear that, we'd be revisiting Raccoon City alongside Leon in a brand new character, on the other hand, I was kind of worried that this was going to become a game full of fan service and no substance, but thankfully I was pretty wrong for the most part. This game is a lot. Requiem is like a mix of numerous entries combined in its own way. I've never actually played 5 or 6, maybe I'll go back to those after this, but I do have a strong feeling they will rewrite a lot when we do eventually get those remakes within the coming years, so that's kind of why I've been a little hesitant about it. But 9 throws you into so many different directions, and with the way it starts, you genuinely wouldn't have been able to guess where it took you. But that's Resident Evil's formula, to be honest. In terms of gameplay, it's split into 2 different games essentially, but the split is pretty equal. Maybe Leon has a tad more playtime, at least for my playthrough. The first half of the game was primarily Grace, with many parts inserted here and there where you play as Leon, and the second half is the inverse order where Leon shines a lot more. Grace starts by investigating the Renwood Hotel, and this is where we gather a lot more context on what happened to her mother through a playable flashback that was insane. And eventually she runs into Victor Gideon, who kidnaps her, and that is the main antagonist of the game. And Leon, on his way into the city, spots Victor kidnapping Grace. Yada yada yada, we're not really here to listen to me tell the story. Grace's first section is in a care center building, and to preface, I played with the recommended POV, so Grace's was in first person and Leon's was in third person, and man, it is actually so scary, and honestly, maybe stressful is the better term for this, but to start off, you have no clue what is actually going on, especially from someone who had seen relatively nothing from the mini showcase they put out before launch. Out of any Resident Evil game I've played in this series, I have genuinely never started off feeling this helpless before. The personalities of these zombies were really hard to read at first. I mean, there was a lot of different varieties too. You had a lot of zombies who just flickered with lights. There was these janitor zombies that were cleaning bathroom mirrors. There was these 2 singing lady zombies who, whenever they sung or screamed really loud, they would like emit some wind projectile that would do damage to you, similar to how Evie would scream at Ethan near the end of RE7 and it would damage Ethan, like kind of similar to that in a way, right? And traversing through the map, I genuinely wasn't sure whether I should kill half the zombies or sneak by and avoid them. I also really like the new blood gimmick and, being able to collect blood to craft a variety of different things. That was really different, but also really cool. And speaking of which, this was the bloodiest game of this series. I mean, you're collecting and analyzing blood, borderline swimming in blood. Like, there were so many instances where everything is just red. I mean, the section when you need to collect those helicopter keys was brutal. So the next section that Grace is in is under the care center, and this part was really, really scary. This was all about sneaking around this horrifying amalgamation. I think her name is literally just called Girl. So here you needed to collect all of these power distributor joint plug thingies to open up the cells to save Emily. I think this section really forces you to learn to properly sneak around, as well as use those hemolytic injectors, which insta-kills the zombies, because there were so many instances from beginning to end of this game where you basically had no choice but to sneak around to survive, especially as Grace. I mean, his gameplay was completely different. But yeah, this part was like RE7 and 2 combined, which are 2 of my favorites. I mean, the horror was there, backtracking there, puzzles, all that. It's really a classic Resident Evil experience. If you're a fan of the games I just mentioned, you will enjoy this part a lot. And yeah, as I mentioned, Leon's part is very different. I've seen a lot of people complain about the thematic inconsistency. I mean, there's a very big contrast between both of their gameplays. A lot of people think that they should have had separate parts, like kind of how Leon and Claire's sections are completely different games in RE2, right? Leon's a super action, Grace is super horror, but I honestly think it works very well in this game. I think it caters to both audiences, and it makes sense to the characters. Grace is not experienced in this field of work. She's she's got an office job as an FBI agent. Like, she does not see these types of things often, other than, when all that stuff went down with her mother. Leon, on the other hand, is like a super soldier at this point. You know what I mean? Like, he's supposed to move different, play different. He's supposed to be more confident when it comes to, navigating these infected areas. Grace is supposed to be scared. So I think the way it's portrayed is perfect. And I also don't really think that they should have been separated, because that would stop people from playing half the content of the game. I mean, I'm sure there are so many people who played RE2 only to play Leon's part or only to play Claire's part. Them having it mashed together is perfect, because it really does push the people who bought the game to actually enjoy the majority of the content in it. Now, obviously, I'm not here to talk about every part of the game from start to finish, and maybe this is some recency bias, but there actually isn't a single section or part in this game that I didn't like or would dread to replay. If I look at RE7, I never liked the ship part with Mia. RE8, I never really liked the Heisenberg factory. Typically there are some sections I just would rather skip or don't want to revisit, but this is one of those games where I actually thoroughly enjoyed every single part. Now we can move on to Leon, and if you loved RE4, get ready for his gameplay. I mean, this guy had Doom Eternal levels of finishers on these zombies. They were so fucking cool. Where he really takes over is when you get to Raccoon City, and almost right out the gate you fight the biggest spider known to man, and I just loved it. I really don't have much to say. It just wasn't something I expected to see. All of the zombies here were hella old and decomposed. I think they did a great job with, the design of the ruined city overall, and it was really cool that you could see a bunch of like reused assets from RE2 and 3, like the fire hydrants and like some of the file cabinets. I didn't really see it as like a lazy thing for them to reuse these assets, but hella creative that they tried to make it accurate to the past games that we just played a few years ago. But yeah, as Leon, you have to find parts for a detonator to blow up this wall. Leon's gameplay in this part honestly started to feel like The Last of Us. The way the combat intensity is amped by a wide margin. One thing I don't really love, and this is something I hate in every installment, and that's just the blister heads. Anytime I see some variant of those enemies in any game, it's just never really a good time. Then one of the craziest parts is when you are literally in a motorcycle chase or battle in the rubbled up highways and streets of Raccoon City while fighting Mr. Gideon and I think some infected horses, or wait, no, it's horse. Plural is horse, right? Yeah, this part was genuinely so fire, like wow. And you ride up this destroyed building and it just felt like something you'd see in Split Fiction. And then we get to the RPD. I was so hyped getting here, obviously, and this section in the RPD, it was very short, but I do think they put it in here for the sake of fan service, but justifiably so. I do think, remakes aside, considering it's been 6 games since we've actually been in the RPD, I do think they've kind of earned a moment like this. And them giving Leon this cutscene of, all of the flashbacks and memories coming back to him as he opens those front doors was so cool. Even later on when he went through Kendo's shop, he recalled the half-zombie daughter Kendo had to kill, and you can see the emotion on his face and just all of the sadness wash over him because of the fact that he couldn't do more to save as many people as possible. Getting to run through those sections was really cool, but once you get to this cutscene where he ran into Grace and Zeno, who, is this supposed to be a Wesker clone? Like I had no clue, to be honest, but in that scene you get another Mr. X tyrant dropped on you, and you escape him quite easily. At this point, I had actually gotten a little worried that they just did that for the sake of fan service, but luckily a few minutes later, you have a boss fight with him, and this ain't no rookie Leon anymore, so we packed him up in one good fight. But in that mini scene with Grace and Zeno, there was a mini flashback that reveals that she was an orphan, and this part gameplay-wise was pretty cool. I mean, it was short, but I was just really confused on what was actually going on there. What were those children? Who were they? I mean, it never really got answered, so if anyone can answer that, that would be much appreciated. Obviously, we've known the orphanage has had some weird things going on there, but that was something else. Another concern during my playthrough was the concept of Elpis, because Capcom does this a lot where a new game comes out and it affects the past game's lore a lot. Even in Village, you found out that Mother Miranda's been around since the early 1900s, and Spencer's known her long before Umbrella was created. And these types of twists can be really cool and amazing, but could also forever taint the story if not executed well. But I am also aware that there's a lot of plot holes in Resident Evil, but hopefully the remakes can, kind of fix all of those. But I do think Elpis being this antiviral Spencer created to start righting his wrongs for Umbrella and the bioweapons is cool. A little out of nowhere, but I do like the direction that it's going in. Apparently when Wesker killed Spencer in RE5, he was still a villain, so yeah, like I'm really hoping these remakes can fix those things, you know what I mean? And while it wasn't a really big difference, I do appreciate the fact that there were two endings. I actually got the bad ending first because Leon was the one saying to destroy Elpis, so like, yeah, that was a brutal ending, oh my goodness. But then it started to make sense, that the final video Grace watched revealing that Elpis being released wasn't really a bad thing since it was just an antiviral. But yeah, it definitely seems like there was a lot of setup for Leon and Chris in Resident Evil 10. I mean, they didn't know where Chris was, and obviously this is many years after the events of 8, so perhaps we get a solo Chris game. I'm not really sure. We also haven't seen Jill or Claire in a fat minute, so time will tell. I did hear rumors of a Code Veronica remake, and that would actually be really cool, especially since I know little to nothing about that game. And we haven't really seen like a young Chris Redfield in a remastered game yet, or at least a modern remake, because the RE1 remaster was, it still had the fixed cameras and stuff. But all in all, I am so happy with the final product of Resident Evil Requiem. It was super polished, it was visually pleasing, and it seems like the game is doing amazingly in the eyes of both the fans and the critics. If you enjoyed Resident Evil, or you didn't enjoy Resident Evil Requiem, honestly just let me know in the comments. I'm very interested to see what everyone thinks. This is something that you love to see in 2026, where games rarely release on launch as a finished product. But yeah, that's about it. Video soon. Peace and love.